Before we had this, and this, we had this. This is SonSon, part of the Capcom Classics Collection for the PlayStation 2. SonSon was an arcade classic made by Capcom back in 1984. It was the second game that Capcom ever made, and it was the first Capcom game to ever make it to the US, and it was moderately successful. The game is loosely based on the Chinese folktale Journey to the West, which is also the same inspiration for the anime/manga Dragon Ball. The plot of the game is very simple. An evil wizard has captured your friends, and it's up to you to play as either SonSon the monkey or Tauntaun the pig, and basically just save them. The controls in the game are fantastic. They're smooth, simple, and just all around easy to pick up and fun to use. To move, all you have to do is use your D-pad or your joystick, and to shoot is X. What's more simple than that? Although SonSon is primarily an action-adventure title, it feels a lot like a horizontal shooter. Mainly because there's a lot of stuff going on the screen, it's very frantic, and you have a lot of free range on the board. Not only that, but you're constantly shooting at something, you get power-ups everywhere, and one hit and you lose a life. So it feels very much like a horizontal shooter. Speaking of power-ups, one of the things you could pick up along the way is a little thing called POW. What POW does is it turns all the enemies on screen into fruits, vegetables, and other sort of goodies, which can give you a lot of points. Depending on what exactly you're trying to accomplish, SonSon is either a very easy game or a very hard game. You might be thinking to yourself, well, what do you mean it can go either way? Well, what I mean by that is, if you're just trying to get to the end, it's an easy game to do because you have infinite continues. The hard part is if you're trying to get a high score. Now, the reason why that's hard is because every time you lose all your lives and have to use a continue, you lose all your points. So, if you're trying to get a high score, that's going to be very difficult. Every so often, the screen will stop scrolling, and you'll have to face this fortress of enemies, and there will be enemies all over the screen, and you basically have to break through these little barriers and kill everything. Once you do that, the screen will start scrolling again, and you get to face off against the 3 wizards who kidnapped your friends. Now, even though you can destroy them, that doesn't automatically mean it's the end of the game. As a modern gamer, giving this game a first glance probably wouldn't impress you very much, based on graphics or whatever, but don't let that fool you. As we commonly say in the reviewing business, graphics don't make the game, and this is a prime example. This game is very addictive. It's one of those games where you're playing it thinking that you're only going to play for like 5 minutes, but you won't even realize that 40 minutes have actually passed. That actually happened to me as I was recording footage for this game. The music in this game is actually quite catchy, even though it's very simple. The main track kind of reminds me of a track I heard in another game before. I wonder where. Oh yeah. Now, every game has its flaws, and here's the flaw of this game. When you die, sometimes there will be so many enemies on screen that you can't react fast enough, so as soon as you get back into play, you're dead instantly. And that can be a real pain in the ass, especially for people who are trying to get the highest score they can. At the end of the game, the music will start to change, and you face the 3 wizards one more time in a final showdown. After that, you can also pick up a lot of vegetables and goodies for points, and then there's also a staff you have to pick up on a statue. Once you do that, the game will give you your final points. However, this doesn't mean that the game's actually over. The game will just keep repeating itself so you can keep building up your points as high as possible. On the Capcom Classics Collection, doing certain things throughout the game can actually unlock little bonuses for you. For example, you can unlock tips, you can unlock bios on different characters, as well as even listen to a remixed version of the soundtrack. Here's a little bit of trivia for you. SonSon in Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is female, while SonSon in the original arcade game is actually male. Now, you may be wondering, well, how is this possible, or what's the explanation? Well, SonSon in Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is actually the granddaughter of the original SonSon. SonSon all around is actually a very fun, addictive game that I think any gamer who likes classic arcade games should really try out. If you see the Capcom Classics Collection, purchase it and definitely play this game. I find it to be very underrated as far as arcade classics go. All in all, I'm going to have to give this game a solid 8 out of 10. I think it's definitely worth the purchase. I definitely think it's worth the play. There are a few annoyances, but that shouldn't really stop you from having a good time with this game. So, I'm IronFury, and that's going to be all for now, so take care.